Hi there. On today's episode of the Homeowner's Handbook, I thought we would discuss, well, to be quite honest with you, I haven't decided what we should discuss. I mean, there's 100 different things that are out there that we could discuss. I mean, inside, outdoor things, you know, but maybe, I don't know, maybe I thought inspiration would strike me with the camera on. You know, maybe we could hit on something that's a little, maybe it's something that annoys us, maybe gets under our skin a little bit, you know, something that's bugging us, a fly in the ointment, you know, something we just need to get to, just haven't gotten to it yet. Maybe we'll do pest control, and maybe before we really start, I'll go wash my hands. The Homeowner's Handbook was made possible through North Star Comfort Services. For over 65 years, North Star has been helping make more comfortable and energy-efficient living environments for Kansas. You know, it's funny that I should want to wash my hands immediately after killing that fly, and it's not because I needed to wash my hands anyway. It's in fact because public health and pest control have gone hand in hand for, well, centuries. So let's start with the word pests. The word pest comes to us from Latin pestis, through French pests, but essentially meaning plague. In fact, the origins of the word and their common vernacular seems to be originating from the Black Plague. And it's just an idea we'll actually circle around to later. So what constitutes a pest or a plague in today's world? Well, it can range from anything from just a nuisance or a harmless one like that, like a garter snake, to more of an irritation like a fly might, to even something far, far worse like bed bugs. So how far back does pest control go? Well, pretty much since we started planting things in the soil. You could certainly say, of course, there was some level of pest concern before that, but it really became more of a control issue once we started having plants that we needed to protect. Being concerned about plants is all fine and good, but what about us? What about people? Well, we actually even have a Sumerian tablet from about 2500 BCE, which prescribes sulfur for treatment for an itch. Well, unsurprisingly, actually, we still use sulfur in some sorts of pest control today. So maybe it would be beneficial to split our conversation into two parts. First, talking about pest control for people's sake, the public health issues, and then talk briefly about pest control for our plants and vegetation around us. Let's start with the pest guy now. Well, even though Janelle wouldn't join us here, I thought we could go ahead and maybe get some great insight here, talking to an expert on pest control. Kent Foley. Kent, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you.
This morning.
All right, so far, I don't know, it may vary depending on what you tell me here. So let's start with some of the, let's talk about what pests people find in their house. What's probably the most common thing people find?
Right now, while we're recording this is early spring, so the biggest problem right now people are going to start having are either going to be ants.
Okay.
With the moisture that we've been getting, if we get some warmer temperatures, we'll start seeing a lot of termites. Those are going to be the big issues early season. Okay, well, let's start with ants, because I'm certain everyone has seen an ant or two around their house, or hundreds probably. Mm-hmm. But, so what are the most common kinds of ants that we see here in Kansas? There's two basic ants that are going to be an issue. Okay. The ones that come in the house to just looking for food sources or to get out of the weather conditions. The most common one that we have here is the odorous house ant. Okay. If you actually squish the ant, it's got a very pungent odor to it. They say it smells like rotten coconut, but I'm not for sure what rotten coconut smells like. How close do you need to be to actually smell it, though? Is it like you smash it here? Smash it and just, okay. You know, it sounds kind of gross, but that's the only way you can really see what they smell like. Fair enough. And then carpenter ants. Okay. A lot of people think that carpenter ants eat wood. They don't actually eat wood. They drill holes in the wood. Oh. And they drill those holes, and over a period of years they will cause structural damage just like termites do. But what they do is they actually lay their eggs back in the galleries that they've eaten. Oh. That they've not eaten, but that they've hollowed out.
Sure.
And then each year that new colony now expands and continues to expand where they'll actually cause structural damage.
So they hollow out and hollow out and hollow
yep.
out. Oh, okay. How do you deal with ants? I mean, obviously, you know, call a professional could be the answer for all of them. But I mean, if you see ants, what do you need to be thinking? What do you need to be doing?
Keeping your cabinets and stuff cleaned off, obviously. Because the ants that you see on the surface only make up 5% of the total colony.
So like an iceberg kind of.
Yeah, and the ones that you see that are out moving around are foraging for food sources to feed the colony.
Okay.
And once they find a food source, then they lay down a pheromone trail as they go back to the colony.
Oh.
And then when they get back there, they say, hey, I found food at this place, and they all start coming, and now you got hundreds or thousands of them on your kitchen counter and about to pull all your hair out. So for some of us, that's not a lot. But.
So, but then to deal with it, then is there just, you know, just spray? Is it a good treatment, or?
We've got products now that have no odor to it. Ants don't even know that they've been contaminated, and so they will actually, as they pass back and forth, toting that food back to the colony, they can pass that as they go along.
The other more common ones you said this time of year is termites.
Termites.
What's the easiest, or is there an easy way to tell that you have a termite issue before you see the termite issue?
Everything in the pest control business seems to be a yes and no answer, and this is one of those. If people know what to look for, termites live inside an enclosed environment.
Okay.
So when they come to the foundation of the house, they will actually, and turn up to come into the home, they make a mud tube that they travel, and most generally it'll be about the size and diameter of a pencil. Okay. And they travel inside that mud tube to get into the structure. If people see that, then yes, you've got a termite issue there that needs to be addressed. But the problem is they don't always just come up the side of the foundation. Okay. Where they get in underneath the front porch, termites have got 4 receptors, a total of 8 receptors in their system. 4 which pertain particularly to pest control and how to deal with them. They have a hydroreceptor which allows them to detect moisture. Okay. If you've got a water hydrant at the side of the house that's dripping, they can detect that moisture up to 20 feet away.
Wow.
And then they'll be drawn in. If there's no other moisture anywhere around, they'll be drawn into that.
It's a pretty powerful insect radar right there.
Yeah. They've got a chemoreceptor. If you take a 2x4 and throw it down on the ground, it starts to decay. That anytime a matter changes form like that, there's a chemical reaction. And it's that chemoreaction that they can detect, and they can detect that up to 5 feet away. So wood to soil contact becomes a very common area. They have a stress receptor. They know exactly how much of this wall they could eat before it would collapse, and they will stop short of collapsing that wall.
Really?
Yeah. And then the 4th receptor that's really critical is called a thermoreceptor. Okay. We've got a cool spring right now. Temperatures are cold outside, but that sun comes out this afternoon and hits the sidewalk, the patio, the front porch. It heats that soil underneath.
You're right.
And so those termites, because the soil's still too cold, they'll come up underneath the driveway, they'll come up underneath the patio, and it puts them right next to the foundation of the home. Wow. 75 to 80% of the time we find the termites around garage doors,
sure,
patio doors, and front doors.
With the entries there.
All of the entry places, because most generally we've got concrete in those areas, and the thermoreceptor is drawing the termites into that area.
Wow. So that's pretty impressive, really. They've got such a great radar sense that, you know, I'm certainly actually jealous. I don't know. I wish I had that kind of radar sense. You think you might have a termite issue? I guess there's probably 2 things, and probably carries over to the ants as well. Both prevention and then dealing with problem solving.
Absolutely. Some of the prevention and things that you can do as a homeowner to keep your ants, reduce your ant issues, keep your shrubbery trimmed back away from the side of the house.
Okay.
Don't let the shrubbery touch the house. Ants use plants and things like that as transportation or highways to get into the structure. Raking up any debris or leaves or anything that have blown in, because a lot of times your odorous house ants will make their nests, their colonies, down underneath that leaf litter. And so by keeping that stuff raked out and out of the way, then it reduces the ants being next to the structure.
Sure.
As far as with termites, you have to call in a professional to do an inspection on it, because there's just so many variables on every home is so much different that without having someone with a trained eye, it's real easy to miss them, and they're the ones that are going to cause the structural damage. The ants are just going to be a nuisance.
So then if you find out you do have termites, pest prevention company or pest company control company will come out then and have answers for you. Then they'll be able to treat
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
However,
let you know what needs to be done and give you some different options and stuff.
Now I have seen some, and I certainly know there's some companies that push a termite prevention system thing. I believe there's something that goes in the soil every so often. Do those work?
They do work.
Okay.
The termite baiting systems do work. I'm not a big fan of them. We do have some clients that have them because they don't want the holes, the old traditional termite treatment. You drill the holes ever so far in the concrete, and you put the chemical down underneath the slabs underneath the concrete. I'm still lean more toward that, although I do have some clients that don't want the holes in the concrete, and so they use the baiting systems.
Now, is there just then one type of termite that we have in this area, or I know there's surely others.
There's actually 3 species of termites here in Kansas.
Okay.
The reticules is the one that is the most common. It generally will have its mating process will start in the spring. Right now, like we mentioned earlier, with the weather temperatures, if it warms up with the moisture, they swarm. They'll look like flying ants.
Oh.
And if somebody comes home, and this is where a lot of times people find out they have termites, they walk home and they open the front door and there's thousands of flying ants in their living room. That's when they find out that there's an issue there. Well, the way that a homeowner can determine whether it's an ant or a termite is the ant has 3 body parts, a head, an abdomen, and a thorax, whereas the termite only has 2. He has a head and a thorax, no abdomen. Second way is the antenna on an ant have an elbow in them.
All right.
All ants have an elbow, some of them more pronounced than others. The termite's antennas are straight. They have no elbow. Okay. And both an ant and a termite have 2 pair of wings.
Okay.
The termite, all 4 wings, the 2 pair, are all the same length, whereas an ant, 1 pair will be shorter than the other pair. And those are the 3 basic differences to be able to get a quick identification between an ant or a termite and which one it is.
Sorry, I needed to shower after that segment, and in fact, I still may need another one. Oof. Anyway, when we talk about pest control, and it's really interesting at least to discuss how the hygiene and religion aspects tie into each other, dating back pretty far as well. Anyway, while that's what we deal with pest control now, it is interesting that the origins of pest control, particularly as far as caring about people's versions of it, is that the origins are in the religious and political leadership. Many of the concerns about making sure things are clean, knowing which animals are safe to eat and not eat, the concerns about purification, really through water, are all hygienic things as well as religious and spiritual ones. The Greeks had their concern with medicine. They showed that through the demigod Asclepius, who was the son of Apollo, who was also a form of their god of medicine, but particularly his son was the one that had a symbol that we still use today even, you see in different healthcare industries. Moving forward yet to the Middle Ages, you end up with the apothecaries being ones that helped dispense medicinal advice as well as some pest control. That would be who you'd go see for some arsenic to deal with the rodents nearby, which became, of course, particularly popular during the Black Plague. Told you we'd circle back to it. Now, of course, the Black Plague was so rampant, it wasn't just science that people turned to. There was, of course, religion, both trying to work hand in hand, trying to combat the ongoing rampage that the bubonic plague was infecting upon Western Europe. It may have been the last time that religion and science worked together well. That sounds like probably another show on this channel. Maybe not. Anyway, moving forward yet, about 1690 to 1695, depending upon which source you use or who you talk to, we have the first pest control company founded, of course, in London, England. And the rest, one might say, is, well, ever-changing history. So here we're looking at bed bugs. Now, there was a big thing in the news, I think it was New York City at the infestation a year or 2 ago, but bed bugs are countrywide, are they not?
They're worldwide.
Okay.
The problem with bed bugs has become a world problem, not just a national problem. We've got them here in Wichita. We're seeing bed bugs and getting calls on a quite frequent basis.
And is that a growing issue then?
And it is growing, and it will continue to grow. Really, there aren't any products that are really extremely effective against controlling bed bugs.
We'll have to make everyone feel better.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this problem. They're a transient insect.
Okay.
If somebody goes to work that has bed bugs and one crawls out of their purse or crawls off their clothes and crawls to the cubicle next to them, then that person may end up taking them home. Go to the theater, a restaurant, any place. That's how people will pick them up.
They're like the most obnoxious hitchhikers you can imagine.
Oh, they're horrible hitchhikers. And everybody's vulnerable to them.
How big are they generally?
Well, the adult bed bug is about the size of an apple seed.
Okay.
This is a poster that we have.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that's an awful big apple or it's a blown up shot, but this is an adult bed bug sitting beside an apple seed. So they're a little bit bigger. And if you look at the structure of the bed bug, it's very similar. A lot of people will mistake it for a tick.
Okay.
So the adult bed bug is actually big enough to see. The problem that people have and don't understand is where it's hiding in the home that makes it hard to find.
Okay.
Take a look at this other poster for an example. The most common areas on the bed where they're going to be is on the seams of the mattress. The box springs is a real big spot, and around the headboard.
Okay.
When we lay in the bed, our head is always up toward the headboard, obviously. The bed bug is drawn to carbon dioxide. As we breathe, we put off carbon dioxide, and it serves as a magnet to draw the bed bug in. Okay. It may actually be living over here at the top of the curtains. 2 o'clock in the morning, he's hungry. He starts following that carbon dioxide trail, finds us, takes a blood meal, takes 3 to 5 minutes, and then he goes back over here. Oh. And so that's why it's hard to sometimes detect that you've got an issue, is because they can be in other areas other than just on the bed.
So, unlike, say, a tick, I mean, ticks kind of latch on and they oftentimes can stay there till they're, full, huge.
Till they're full, yeah.
But the bed bugs, you said 3 to 5 minutes. Is that kind of the average time then for a bed bug snack?
Yeah, bed bugs 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
There are 5 stages from the time that they hatch from an egg to adult.
Okay.
They're called instars. The bed bug has to have a blood meal for each one of those stages. So the juvenile hatches out from the egg. It has no color. You're not going to see it, and it's about the size of a grain of sand.
Oh, you're never going to see it.
So, and that's where the real problem with bed bug infestations come in, is because the juveniles will make up 80% of the infestation, and they're so small we don't see them. And so it'll take a blood meal, go through a molting process, shed that first skin. Now it's in the second instar. It can go 3 months between feedings.
Oh, okay.
Once it reaches adulthood and the female has been impregnated, she will lay an average of 3 to 5 eggs a day. And she can actually go 9 months in between feedings once she's reached adulthood. So people will sometimes think, well, I'm just going to move out of the house and go somewhere else. Well, unless you're planning to be gone all year long, the bed bugs are still going to be there when you come back. Recent research out of the University of Ohio has shown that 85 to 90% of the products over the counter that, even though it says on the can, kills bed bugs, are ineffective even when sprayed directly on the bed bug.
Oh. I mean, there's no way to, how do you tell if you have bed bugs?
A couple of key things is when you wash your bedding, get in the habit of when you take the sheets and the mattress pad off to look around the seams looking for blood spots, because once that bed bug goes back to the place where it's sleeping, it's going to leave fecal spotting and or blood spots on those areas, and that's what you look for when you're doing your inspection. Also look for blood stains on the sheets. What happens is when the bed bug goes to feed, it puts a saliva on the skin. Okay. Then it stabs you. Oh. It's an allergic reaction to that saliva that causes the welts and the itching. But also it is believed that in that saliva there's an anticoagulant that allows that blood to flow more freely so that that bug can take that meal easily. And so when the bug's done and he pulls off, that anticoagulant allows you to bleed a little bit more, and you can look for blood stains on the sheets.
We know what we're looking for, we think, and so if you have an inclination, like maybe you've got bed bugs, what's the next step then? You're not going to say, obviously, going to the convenience store isn't the best solution. What is the best solution?
The best thing is to do, you're going to have to call in a professional.
Okay.
Professionals have to be called in on this, because this is a pest problem that homeowners cannot do themselves. You know, fleas and roaches and even some rodents, depending on the sizes of the infestations and some other factors, they can eventually work through and solve the problem.
Okay.
But this is a problem that cannot be solved by homeowners. It has to be done by professionals.
If you're still with us, we're going to now talk about spiders. So, and I don't have an issue with spiders, but I know my wife certainly does, so she'll probably fast forward over this segment at best. But let's talk a minute about spiders, though. I mean, it's part of, you know, the insects that are part of our habitat and ecosystem. What kind of spiders are pretty common around here, and which ones should we really be concerned about?
We've got a lot of different variety in spiders. All spiders have venom.
Okay.
They have to have in order to kill their prey. But the venom from the majority of the spiders has no effect on human flesh. If you do have a reaction at all, it's going to be about like a mosquito bite or a skin rash. It's very minimal. The spiders that we have in Kansas that you do have to worry about, there are two that are indigenous to Kansas. The black widow, which is actually indigenous to every state in the country.
Oh, wow.
And then the brown recluse that is just basically confined to the southern, south central, Midwest in the United States. You're not going to find it up north. The brown recluse.
Yes.
Yeah, it's known as the fiddleback or the violin spider.
Okay.
A lot of people have this in their home and don't realize that they do, because most people just think that they have a brown house spider. One of the key ways to tell the difference, or the main difference, is the violin marking. A lot of people will look for it on the abdomen,
right?
but it's actually on the front or the head section of the spider. Now people say, wow, it's so small, I'm not going to get that close. What I recommend, if you suspect or think that you have spiders in the home, put down the glue boards. You can pick them up at any hardware store. Put glue boards down. Around your hot water heater and your furnace are really good places.
Okay.
Then when a spider gets caught on it, you can actually pick it up and look at the spider without taking any risk of getting bit.
Oh, fair enough. Is a black widow something we should be avoiding too, then, and treating for?
Yeah, the black widows, again, are not going to attack. They're going to shy away as much as they possibly can. When a person gets bit by a black widow, it's an accidental, I came in contact with it thing. When you get bit by a black widow spider, though, you know it instantly, because it's an extremely painful bite. It's a neurotoxin, so it attacks the nervous system. And there can be convulsions, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, cramps, you name it, it can happen. Fever, almost instantly because of that bite. So you know immediately that you've been bit. In the 20 years that I've been doing pest control, I've only seen 3 that were actually in the living area of a home.
Oh, okay.
They are not a spider that comes in the home. They came, those 3 spiders, I could directly associate their movement into the home due to extreme weather changes outside.
Sure.
One of them was a fast drop overnight of the temperatures, and it came in the house. We will find them inside garages, though.
Okay.
But most generally, for the most part, your black widow spider is going to be on the outside of the structure, not in the home. So you're not as vulnerable inside the home because of it.
That may be the closest thing to a happy ending we can get from this segment. I'll go ahead and actually even take it. So again, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
When it comes to the green aspects of pest control, one of the main and easiest ways to start would be in using that adage of an ounce of prevention being worth a pound of cure. So what you want to do is make sure there's no easy entrance points into your home for any of those pests you're trying to keep out. So that maybe involve, taking a can of caulk and caulking up any obvious cracks in the foundation. To an insect found inside the home would be, if you've flea issues, steam cleaning your carpets is a nice, quick and easy way to help fix that infestation problem. When it comes to, say, mice and rodents, you want to use more, as easy as you might think a poison might be. The poison is actually more of the worst issues. Spring-loaded traps may seem more barbaric, but it's actually quicker, easier, and it's more humane, believe it or not. Of course, if you're that way, you can also live trap animals, both inside and out. When it comes to repelling insects, there are some natural repellents, particularly if you're outdoors. Cedar oil is a good one that naturally repels a lot of insects. You've also got citronella oil, which is great for repelling mosquitoes. Aphids on some of your plants, actually just a hose. One of the more fun ways to control outdoor pests, although maybe a waste of a perfectly good drinking substance though for some people, is to take some beer and put it into a saucer, and then snails and slugs, if you're having issues with those creatures, will be attracted to it and will actually come into it and drown in beer. But at the end of the day, if you really do have a true insect problem, really the best answer is natural solutions are great, but you may have to go ahead and call that professional in and to do whatever it takes to get rid and control those insect problems or pest control problems, particularly when it comes to inside. There's just too many risks involved in having live creatures in there to, both in your and your loved ones' belongings and personage. Well, so now we know a little bit more about our six-legged and eight-legged creatures around us, and hopefully you and yours have learned a little bit of something about how to keep them away from you. While we can't expect to hermetically seal ourselves in a bubble to avoid those fellow passengers on planet Earth, we do our best to mitigate and manage them and take care of them and keep ourselves as happy and healthy as possible. For this episode of the Homeowner's Handbook, I'm Jeff Boone. I'll see you guys next time. Where was that can of Raid? The Homeowner's Handbook was made possible through North Star Comfort Services. For over 65 years, North Star has been helping make more comfortable and energy-efficient living environments for Kansans. For future show ideas or feedback about this episode, please feel free to contact the Homeowner's Handbook. All reasonable efforts have been made to make the information in this program accurate and up to date. Any errors or omissions are unintended and may be addressed in future programs. No houses have been harmed in the making of this program. Don't listen to that. Okay. Not pets, pests.